Over the past few years, I've been noticing some things about the world that I'm now kind of really struggling to ignore. We are digitally more connected than we've ever been, yet it feels like people are more lonely than ever. You can message anybody online, you can follow thousands of people, you can talk to people across the world, but real connection kind of feels like it's slowly disappearing. And to me, it feels like the world is in a drought, not for water, but for connection. And I notice it in very small ways. You know, you could be sat in a cafe and see a table of 4 people, but everybody's looking down at their phones and they're scrolling through the lives of other people instead of the ones that are happening right in front of them. Or you could walk down a busy street where there's hundreds of people passing each other every minute, but there's no smiles, there's no small conversation, there's just people passing each other by. And it's strange when you think about it. We're more connected than we've ever been before, we're surrounded by people all the time, but still most people feel increasingly alone. And as humans, connection isn't just something that's nice to have, it is fundamentally vital for our well-being. We're wired for conversation and community and shared experience. But the strange thing is, as technology has become a bigger and bigger part of our lives, something else seems to have been happening at the same time. We're becoming so digitally connected, but personally very disconnected, and I think that comes down to 3 main things. Technology overload, increasingly busy lives, and a society that is becoming more and more individualistic. That isn't to say that it isn't still really difficult, because modern life is just moving incredibly fast. People are working longer hours, they're commuting further, and they're constantly trying to keep on top of responsibilities and bills and expectations of them. And somewhere along the way, connection is something that we usually tell ourselves that we'll get to later. We tell ourselves that we'll call that friend next week when everything starts to calm down, but generally things rarely do calm down. And before you know it, days have turned into weeks, and then weeks have turned into months, and out into the abyss. It is something that I'm still personally trying to work on all the time. And over the past year or so, I've made a real conscious effort to try and put my phone down more, or at least disconnect myself from it, which has worked to a certain degree, and I can proudly say that my screen time has gone from about 8 hours a day down to about 3, which isn't exactly where I want it to be, but I'm still working on it. I'm getting distracted, but the point is, there is just something incredibly freeing about not being reachable at all times. And where possible, I would recommend anybody to do the same. Nonetheless, there is still this strange contradiction where you can reach anybody at any time, but most of us still feel quite lonely. And that loneliness isn't just emotional either. A lack of connection has been linked to depression, anxiety, it can disrupt your sleep, and even heart disease. It raises your stress hormones like cortisol, sometimes even push people to a cycle of isolation and negative thinking, which is quite scary. And when you think about it, humans didn't evolve to live in isolation. For thousands of years, our survival depended on being part of a tribe or a family or a community. Having people around us wasn't just comforting, it was essential. We relied on one another for support and safety and a feeling of belonging. And even though the world has changed dramatically since then, our biology hasn't changed nearly as much. We still need those bonds. And when those bonds are missing, that's when life starts to feel really out of balance. And I believe that's why loneliness isn't just an emotional experience, it can be a physical one too. The good news is, connection isn't gone, it's just something that we've forgotten to prioritise. And like most things in life, it is something that we're able to rebuild, usually in quite small ways. For example, just calling an old friend or organising to meet somebody for a coffee. Even small moments of real presence. Actually listening to somebody, sharing a laugh, and sitting together without any distractions. These are all things that can remind us of something that we far too easily forget. And that's that we're not supposed to do life alone. Now, if I can just ask you for a second to try and tune in the imaginative part of your brain. Imagine a world where connection is the norm again, where conversations last longer than the life of a phone battery, where people share their failures, their successes, and maybe weird thoughts they've had today, without feeling obliged to post it all online. That world isn't some big societal change waiting to happen. It's actually much simpler than that. It starts with one phone call, one conversation, and just one moment where you're truly present with somebody. Because at the end of the day, it's not likes and notifications that make life meaningful. It's the people sitting across from us, the conversations that we remember, and just the feeling of belonging somewhere. And without wanting to sound like anybody's nagging mum, next time you're scrolling endlessly on your phone, maybe it'd be worth putting it down, reaching out to somebody instead. Just a thought. Anyways, if you've enjoyed this video and you're new here, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. As always, thank you for watching. Cheers, Kevs.